Hamjambo. Karibuni sana. Nimewamiss. Poleni sana kwa wakati ambao tujakuwa tukiporomosha hiki kipindi. So welcome everyone. I have missed everyone. It's been a while since we've been on this platform. That's 2 weeks ago. We have missed a couple of weeks for various reasons. People have been very busy. We have been very busy, but here we are. So a few weeks ago, that is 2 weeks ago, I had hosted a friend of mine called Lydia and another younger friend called Stella. But tonight it's Esther. You are Esther with Spices of Life. So please tell me where you're tuning from so that we can get started. We can get moving on with the program. And then remember to share with your friends. Yeah, so remember to share with your friends as you tune in. So karibuni sana. My name is Esther from Leicester and this is Spices of Life. Today we are looking at life orphans. So before I do that, because I know a number of you have not been able to know exactly what it is we are doing, if you have just caught up the program halfway through. Spices of Life stands from social, physical, intellectual, commercial, emotional, and social aspects of life. And what I tend to do is to self-examine ourselves. You self-examine yourself. I self-examine myself. That I call the self-concept. How do you perceive yourself? And then
ya gai Tira kwa intimate Yona kanada yari Tumbaga kinyato Shukure gai watu Yaki mweti gera Kinyaika mwabaria Ine kore na mweko Kore na mweko Kore na mweko Kore tere ine Maine kore na mweko Kore na mweko Kore na mweko Kore tere ine
Hello. Karibu sana. Sorry for losing me. Something happened and the lines just went down, but I'm back. I am here and I'm back. Hello, I'm Jambo. I'm back. Yeah, something happened and we just went off. These networks sometimes and the Wi-Fi and being live, these things can happen. But I'm here and thank you so much for staying with me. Keep on sharing the link and we will get started afresh. Like I was saying previously, I had a guest called Lydia and another one called Stella, and they did an amazing job. Lydia was sharing her story, which was very good in conjunctions with the events or life events. But today I want to talk about life orphans. I may not go so much in depth of the topic, but I will get started and then we will see how far we go with this one. So they had mentioned their own life events and the changes and how those changes had affected them. And then we had that story on Jeremy Damaris's wall and on YouTube as well. Now you can be able to catch up with the other programs that we have not been able to catch up. Meanwhile, I want to see everybody who has joined us so that I can welcome you so that we can be able to endelea pamoja. So I had said, karibu sana Reverend Mugo, karibu sana Susan Mudhoni, Emily Mkalei, Onaidhutwe Hamoe, karibu sana Josie Rich, karibu sana Rose Richardson, welcome Geshomo Lydia, karibu sana. And the other people joining on this side as well, karibu sana. I can see a few number joining in, coming in, keep on connecting. So we have Koike Kenyan, we have Pia Rance there tuned from the UK, and we have Shiwa Mama tuned in from the UK. We have Mary Wawero tuned in from the UK, and I'll be getting more as we go along. Just because I had lost the line, I panicked a little bit, but we are back to life. We are back to life. So, like I'm saying, or I was saying, Spices of Life is about spiritual, physical, intellectual, commercial, emotional, and social aspects of life. It's like the way the things that happen in our lives and how they can spice up in a good way or in a bad way. When I was thinking earlier how I'm going to bring up the program, I was thinking of we all have a potential to be good or to be evil. We have a potential to maximize our life to the better or to the worst, depending on the line of the potential that you have and the way you decide to take up your life. And I did say about this. This program is about self-examining ourselves, looking at our self-concept. How do we perceive ourselves? And then how do we see the purpose that is in our lives? Then when we are able to see the purpose that we are supposed to serve, then we seek in the potential so that we can be able to act it out, maximize it, apply it in our everyday life. So it's about maximizing our potential. The way I'm thinking today, because I've been away for a couple of weeks, I'm thinking of taking you back to the beginning just to sum up where we started. We started at the point where I was asking, if you were a plant, what would you be? If you were a plant, what would you be and why? That is the simplest way I could think of how people can think about their potential, all their use. So when I say serving a purpose, I normally say a purpose is a need in the community, it's a need in life, it's a need somewhere. So when you fill in that gap, you are able to kind of meet that purpose. You are able to fulfill a purpose in that life because there is something that is the potential in the plant that you are, and then you're able to serve the purpose that that plant serves. But I'm not going to go there in full details. So we start at rediscovering who we are, and then after rediscovering, then seeking the potential that is within us, and then being able to maximize. And when I say the potential, I'm looking at the spiritual potential, I'm looking at the physical potential, I'm looking at the intellectual potential, I'm looking at the commercial potential. When I say commercial, is how you make wealth in this life. And also I'm thinking about the emotional potential and also the social potential, because all these things act as assets in our lives that we can be able to use to maximize our life. So far in the Spices of Life, we have already discovered, and we went through all the spices, we went through all the 6 areas, then we did the being aspect of it, and then we went through those as well. We can be able to see the videos on the KDM Kenya Diaspora Media on YouTube or even on Facebook. You can be able to go back there and be able to see those. And my plan is in this season, maybe during December and all that, is to talk about unleashing the potential in these areas. So unleashing the potential in your spiritual life, in your physical life, in your intellectual life, in your commercial life, in the emotional life, and also in the social aspects of life. So I'm looking at unleashing that potential. But one of the ways I'm going to look at it is looking at life orphans. I'm looking at the concept of an orphan, a person that is an orphan, and what is it that they desire? Do they have an opportunity where they can be fathered? Do they have an opportunity where they can run back home and be able to be embraced and be able to have a fully potential maximized life? So I'll be looking at that. And then the other aspect I'll be looking at with time is accountability. So in as much as we live in this life in maximizing our potential, we need to be able to look at how responsible we are for this life that we've been given. The spiritual, the physical, the intellectual, the commercial, the emotional, the social, all this life that we have. How can we be accountable for that? And that one, I will be breaking it down with time. When I talk about potential, I mean like when I learned a bit of physics, if I can remember a little bit, potential is something that is in there. It's not in motion yet. But when you make it in motion, then it becomes kinetic. It becomes active, kinetic energy. So the potential energy, like a battery or a cell, it has power. but it's until the current starts flowing through that battery or cell, then it's able to light up or to run an engine, or it's able to do something, some work. I'm trying the physics that I learned long time ago. So forgive me if I'm not explaining it very well, but I can say this. We have the potential, that is the power that we have within. And unless it's activated and plugged in a power source, which I say it's God, the maker, the creator. So it has to be activated by plugging it in, and therefore it can be able to flow and become kinetic, and it becomes active, and it's able to transform our lives. So one of the other words I did use in the past is transformation. I don't believe in just hearing and hearing and hearing and not being transformed. So we need to be transformed in the spiritual, in the physical, in the intellect, in the way we do business, in our emotions, and also in the way we deal with one another. When I was thinking about this topic again, I was thinking about unleashing this person. And I call this person an orphan, and I will tell you why this person may feel like an orphan. I will tell you why in a moment. First of all, I want to thank the Kenya Diaspora Media team for the support that they continue to give me. I want to thank so much the CEO also for giving me this opportunity. I want to thank you, the listener, because without you, I wouldn't be behind this screen talking to you. And I want to thank every other person who's been supporting me in one way or another, because without your support, then I wouldn't be doing this. One of the things, and I like doing this prior to the session, I normally do this, and I ask my Facebook friends, and I ask friends in the family, I ask people close to us, what is one thing that people long for? And then I also put the aspect of the orphan there. I also said, what do you think an orphan longs for? So you can help me to answer that question in the comments below, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Facebook, so that we can get started, while I'll be looking at some of the answers about the general, the things that people wish for or long for or pray for. And therefore, then I'll be able to bring this concept of the orphan in the process of unleashing. And I was also thinking, what is to leash? Yeah, one of the funny things I saw in the UK when I first came here, is that children are normally put under a harness, or rather a harness is put over a child. And a dog as well, they do have harnesses. And apart from a harness, dogs also have a leash. Yeah, and this leash controls their freedom. And sometimes I tend to think in this life, there could be something that is holding you back from getting that thing that you really wish for or you long for. There could be something that is holding you back. And that's the area I'm going to look at tonight. We won't be too long tonight. Hopefully, within the next hour, we can be able to kind of find a solution or find something that we can be able to discuss around this. So my starter question is this one. What is, or what do you think is the number one thing that most people long for or wish for in this life? If you want to put an orphan there, what do you think orphans long for? Then you can be able to tell me. I can see more people are joining in. Wamekuja kukuja. They're coming through. So karibu sana as you join me. We have Joy Rosalyn Wangondu. Yes, Joy Wangondu. And yeah, karibu sana. And then we have Stevie Brill, karibu sana. And Susan Wanjiku, karibu sana. Mary Waweru, karibu sana. And you're tuning in from Kenya. And Pierre Ann said, it's stuck. Yes, I got stuck, but I am unstuck now. And I am back with you. And we are going full swing. And Shiku Wangondu here tells me people long for wealth. Yes, people long for wealth. And then Mwarewamo Turi says, tuko pamoja sana. Shiko Wangondu adds security. People long for or wish for security. So keep on sharing this link, because when we got stuck, I didn't have an opportunity to share with a few people. And because I was also stuck somewhere else, I wasn't so sure now what to do. So instead of sharing, I went ahead to try and solve the problem with the mitambo. That's what we were doing. So thank you so much. And Mr. Neil Huching is also watching. Asante sana, karibu, karibu, karibu. So keep sharing and let the people know that we are here. I'm going to share quickly on my wall before I can continue, so that at least some of my friends that I didn't manage to share with earlier on can be able to join in as well. And then people from WhatsApp, karibu sana, those who are joining in, and mumekaribishwa sana, as we think of what is it that people long for in this life. What is it that people long for? So karibu sana, Reverend Dr. Mugo wa Magi, karibu sana. And then we had Reverend David Kahoi, karibu sana for joining us. And then Wairish, karibu sana. And then a number ending with 865, karibu sana. Josie, karibu sana. Karibu. Tumerudi kabisa, tumerekebisha mitambo, so we are okay to go. We are okay to go. So keep giving me some of the answers that you have here so that we know what is it that people long in. Mary Wamboi says you have joined in. You have joined in. For some of the answers that I was given previously, if you're taking notes, you can compare with the notes that you have. People long for, like Shiko Wangondu has said, people long for wealth. And it kept coming up in the answers in Facebook or on Facebook. They kept coming in. People long for wealth. People long for retirement, a time that they will rest and they don't have to go to work as in the routine of work. People long for financial freedom. People long for love, and they also long for acceptance. I don't know about you. And I'm thinking an orphan, somebody who doesn't have parents, may be longing for these things even at a higher level. I may mention that in a moment. People long for freedom, and people long for peace, people for pleasure. People long for getting rid of illnesses and disease and disability. People long for that. And people long to have power. And people long for health and happiness. They say this. And people long to have a sense of belonging. People long for, having a peace of mind. They say so. And happiness kept coming up, wealth kept coming up, love kept coming up. And then I was saying I used to long for security a lot. I used to long for security because when I was growing up in Kenya, one of the most scary thing that I ever was scared of was when houses were broken into and I couldn't walk home after 7 because I was scared somebody could attack me. And then one time I found somebody almost breaking my house, and it was only breaking into my house, and it was only about 7 p.m. So I could see them really kind of wanting to break the padlock, and I was like shaken. So a sense of security is one of the things that I had always longed for. And then there are many other things. And then we have Smart Cathedral saying security and significance. And he has also added love. Then Lucy Mwihaki is watching, and you're saying also acceptance. Yes, we could be longing for all these things. We could be longing for all these things. And then another lady said this: I think it depends on where one is in life. For example, the age. And she was saying a young person who isn't married, they may be longing for a good and a wealthy looking good partner, and also they would go for a well-paid job, so they would be longing again for an income. To me, that is part of wealth. Okay. Then she was saying a married person with children in school and working class would wish for happiness in their family. They would wish for good health, and they would wish also for peace of mind. But like I said, the main thing that kept coming and coming and coming back is that money. And everybody was saying, Esther, to be realistic, it's money. But what I realized, there was a difference. The people in the West compared to the people in Africa, some of the people in Africa, most would say wealth and money. But people in the West, they were looking for love and acceptance, mostly when I did my little analysis. So they weren't thinking of money so much. They were thinking of love, peace of mind, love and acceptance. All those things are the ones that were coming from this side of the world. So it depends on the context. People may wish for Similar things, happiness was in both areas. So people from the other side of the continent were wishing for happiness. People on this side of the continent also wanted happiness. Acceptance as well kept coming, more especially in the West. So when I was thinking about the leash I had said, I was thinking of something that could be tying us, something that could be holding us from the freedom to get these things that we wish for. And I did think of a story in the Bible, and I know I have pastors and bishops on this channel and they're watching. Could someone check for me in the book of Luke, which chapter, the story of the prodigal son? The story of the prodigal son is the one I thought of bringing up to be able to explain the kind of orphan that I'm thinking of in relation to these things that people long for. And when I was thinking about what does an orphan long for? An orphan may long for all these things that we have mentioned, but one of the things they may be longing for is acceptance and also belonging, and that attachment or bonding and love. They would be longing for that. And when I was thinking also about the story of the prodigal son, I was thinking, why did the prodigal son leave home? What is one thing that made him go away? Yeah. So somebody had mentioned people long for pleasure, people long for wealth. So he was longing for his own wealth, and his wealth was given to him, right? He went to his father and said, Father, give me what belongs to me, my inheritance right now, because I want to go. And of course, he didn't say, I'm going to have pleasure out there in the world, but he wanted his inheritance to enjoy it at that particular time. And then there was the other son that was left at home. When I look at this story, when I scrutinize, I analyze this story, I see a need, right? And both of them, in a way, were behaving like an orphan, in a way. And I will show you how. So when the boys were asking for the wealth, rather, when the first boy, the youngest of the two, was asking for his wealth, he wanted to go and get the things that he was longing for. But when he was given everything that he needed to have, he went and squandered it. He went and had pleasure with it. He went and finished everything he had until he started eating with the pigs. When there was a famine, when he had run out of money, he couldn't find another place to go to. So he ended up going to work in a farm where there were pigs, and he was sharing the food with the pig. There is an analogy there in reality. In the world here, sometimes, even for those who have a lot of wealth, they still end up sometimes sharing their wealth with the most greedy persons. Sorry to say that, but sometimes it happens. So sometimes the more you have, the more you want, and it can lead to that aspect of looking like you are looking for more, and it's never satisfying. That wealth is never satisfying, however much you have been given. And Bella Betty has joined us. Thank you so much. And Neil Hooting say people want what they don't have. People want what they don't have. Yes, sometimes they want what they don't have, even when it's not a necessity, it's just a want sometimes. So I'm saying this, the boy, the last born of the boys left home, and he had asked for the wealth. The very things that people long for is what he went and asked for. So the father gave these things to him and he left. Now, after some time, when everything had run out, and when he started thinking about home, he thought, my father has servants, people there are eating, they're sleeping, they're having all the things I ever wanted. Yeah, I had all the comfort that I had, the security that I had at home. He came back to his senses and he decided to return home. And what happened? The father from afar, moved by compassion, he went and met him and he hugged him and he welcomed him home. He welcomed him home. So Josie Text says, tuko sana Esther, we are tuned in. And Sarah Mwangi anasema ako ndani sana, karibu sana. So when he returned, the father hugged him and welcomed him home. For that period of time when this boy was suffering, that's where I'm seeing the orphan. He had made himself to be an orphan by leaving home. He had When I say orphans, I'm saying orphan in quote because he had left the comfort of home. So it's like he didn't have any parent anymore because he had cut the link when he took his inheritance and left. Now, when he came back, what happened to his brother? Do you think he rejoiced? What does the story say? It's somewhere in Luke 15, I believe. What did the other brother do? Did he rejoice? Did he become happy that the brother has come back? Was he as happy as the father? No, he didn't do that. He became envious. He became angry. He became really irritated. He wasn't happy at all. He was like, what's happening on the other side? What's happening? Or he was told, oh, your brother who had left has come back and they're celebrating his coming back. So he wasn't happy at all that his brother was back. So he felt like he didn't belong. So according to me and the things we long for, already this boy was feeling like he doesn't belong. So in as much as he was living with the father, he felt like he didn't belong. To me, that's behavior of an orphan as well. You have a father, but you don't have a relationship with the father. He's surrounded by the wealth. He was surrounded by everything, but he didn't have a relationship. So remember, the first boy cut off the relationship, went out and came back. But the one who remained, he was there, but he wasn't forming any relationship with that person that they were with as a father. And it happens in this life. Sometimes we can be cutting ourselves off from the comfort of the people who could give us that feeling of home, feeling of attachment, feeling that we belong, feeling that we are loved. It happens. And the moment you cut those links for various reasons, then you can feel like you're an orphan. Those feelings of an orphan can be able to affect you. So, in summary, orphans normally live in a socially depressed kind of an environment. When I look at these two boys, the one who had left for some time, he lived in a socially kind of depressed environment. It's until he came back to his senses, then he ran back home and he was able to be welcomed back by his father because of the compassion. And then the one who was staying at home as well, he was equally depressed in a way. And we have spoken about depression in these programs at some point as well. So sometimes people who are orphans can experience extreme poverty. One of the surprising things that I've come to find, yes, people have types of poverty. Sometimes it may not be material poverty. You can find a rich person that is looking for happiness, that is looking for acceptance, that is looking for fame because they are feeling like they are still needy. They are poor in a way. But Jesus said, blessed are the poor in the spirit, those ones who are seeking to be filled in the spirit. But I'm saying in our reality, in this physical life, sometimes you find somebody may have all the wealth that another person is wishing for. They may have all the children that another person is wishing for. They may have big compounds that are secured, but there's something that they're wishing for because they don't have a peace of mind and their heart is troubled. So these things happen. So they have a type of poverty. To me, that is an orphan kind of mentality, or rather, they're affected by the orphan spirit. They have everything else, but they're still missing something else that could be comforting them. They can also, orphans can experience hunger and thirst with no one to meet this need. And in this life, you and I have gone through hunger. We hunger for these things. We hunger for so many things in life because we feel we haven't had enough of these things and we may be going after them. We may be going after them. And you can keep on giving me some of the comments. Betty Bella is saying hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you. And you're listening in. Thank you so much. So what I'm talking about tonight is something I wanted to call an orphan life or an orphan spirit. People can be affected by this orphan spirit. We are living in this world, but we are not satisfied. We are not fulfilled because there are things we are longing for. And like Neil was saying, sometimes people long for. I think they long for things I think we should focus on what we do have instead of longing for what we don't have. So people may long for the things that they don't have. They don't look at the things that they have. Remember, the boy at home wasn't looking at the things he has. He was Like, why did you treat that boy and you didn't treat me well? Why didn't you throw a party for me? It's until the father comforted him and said, look, everything I have belongs to you, and you're always with me here. So you can see sometimes people may be hungering and thirsty even when they're surrounded by the necessities of life, even when their needs have been met to an extent, they'll be still looking for some more greener pastures. They'll still be looking for something else. Another thing an orphan could be having is lack of healthy social connections. So sometimes you find that people don't have good social connections. I remember today one of my friends, she said she was my friend, was saying, why don't you invite me to the UK? Why don't you invite me to come and visit you into the UK? And I said, I could. But the problem is I don't have any evidence to show that you've been my friend. So the social connection between that friend of mine, from the very moment they had asked for me to invite them, they haven't spoken to me for a long time. In fact, they have changed their name. So I couldn't even remember they were the same person. But if they had kept healthy social connections, they were keeping communication, they were sharing some of the stories happening there, and I'm sharing the stories happening here. Then when they go to the embassy, it could be so easy for them to ask, how can we confirm that you're a friend of this person? We could show the communication. That's one of the things I know the British Embassy does. They do ask, show us the evidence that this is your family member, show us that the evidence that this is your friend and you're inviting them to this event or that event. So orphans lack healthy social connections and support. Why? Because either they have lost their carer, or they have lost their parent, or they have lost someone who was their guardian. When it's lost, then they're not able to connect with other relations. So if the parent is gone, it's kind of the rest of the relatives cut off. And sometimes, naturally, people may not want to connect with an orphan because they think this orphan is poor. So I'm thinking of this boy when he went out to squander his property. He had a number of friends surrounding him when he had the wealth. And I think that's what happens even in this life. When you have something, oh, you can have a lot of friends. You can have many people surrounding you and becoming your friends. But the moment everything is gone, all the friends disappear. They just evaporate like that. They just disappear. I don't know whether that's your experience, but I think that's my experience and my own analysis. And Purity Mato is watching and she's listening from University Place, Seattle. Karibu sana, Purity. So what I'm saying is this. When people have a spiritual orphan spirit, kind of, the life orphans, the ones that make themselves to be, in a way, consciously or unconsciously, they may be feeling like they're living in a socially depressed kind of environment. They may be feeling depressed themselves, and they can also experience extreme poverty. And this poverty is not that they don't have what they need. It's because they don't have what they want. So they can be feeling as if they're still poor, right? So they may be looking for something, acceptance, love. So they may not be having those. They can be hungering and thirsting. Their life is never fulfilled. They are looking for something to meet a certain need, a hollow that is in their heart that is never met. They may be lacking healthy social connections, although they may be living with other people around them, but the social connections could be cut off. And they themselves can become depressive and long for love and freedom, and they may decide to hide their feelings and go silent as part of the coping mechanisms. In this life, you and I could be going through all these things, or maybe not. Yeah. But if you are going through these things, sometimes I think that is an orphan spirit kind of affecting us. We are feeling like we've been cut off from the Father, the one who is compassionate, full of love, the one who can give us everything we need in the spiritual, in the physical, in the intellectual, in the commercial, in the emotional, in the social aspects. Remember, previously on these sessions, I've said your friend number one should always be God. And for me, it's through Jesus Christ that I'm able to know God. If I have the Father, then I have everything. I know I have everything. I had gone like the prodigal son away from my home. I had rebelled from God, but I returned and I repented and I reconnected back to the Father and I felt fulfilled. All those things that had been going through my life, it's not perfect yet, because I know on this side of the world, they'll never be perfect. On this side of life, they won't be perfect. But one thing I know, it's the beginning. I can accept love, I can accept compassion from my Father, and therefore receive this compassion and be able to give it to another person. I can accept the acceptance that I've been accepted by God. When I accept that I'm accepted, then I am fulfilled, I am comforted, because my Father has done that for me. And how do I accept that? By faith. So I believe, I trust that God has accepted me just the way I am, and therefore I can accept myself. I don't know about you. I am no longer isolated. Why? Because I have fellowship with you. I have fellowship with so many other people. So I'm no longer isolated. I don't feel sad anymore like I used to feel when I didn't have a link with my Father. So the sadness is gone. The hopelessness is gone. Peace, yes, I have it. And the fear of the future, of uncertain future, is gone. And the fear of death as well is gone. Why? Because I know if I died today, then I'm going to meet my Father. So I have that comfort in my Father. So I'm no longer living like the prodigal son who left, and I'm no longer living like the son who was left without a relationship. Why? Because I have reconnected with God. So one of the things I'm saying is this: at the end of the day, if you feel like you are feeling like an orphan, either the prodigal, the one who left, or the one who stayed and didn't reconnect, one of the most important things for you and I to do is to form that relationship with the one who created everything, the one who gave you the breath of life, that is the spirit that is in you, the one who makes this body to function the way it functions, the one who makes our minds work the way they work, the wisdom that he gives us and the knowledge he gives us, the one who gave us the gold, the silver, and every paper that we call money because it comes from trees. That's the one I'm talking about. The one who knows what is going through your emotions. When you're sad, when you're happy, he still promises you that you can be joyful. That's the one I'm talking about. The one who gives you the best social relationship that you can ever have, starting by faith, and then in reality, you can be able to love one another. He says, love your enemy as well. Because in loving your enemy and forgiving those who have messed your life, then you are at peace. The very peace that we were longing for, then is yours. So the orphan spirit can affect people if they do not know how, if they don't have the knowledge about who God is. That is, they don't know whose they belong to, and they don't know who they are. In one of the verses in John 14:18, let me quote a verse in the Bible. It says, Jesus told his disciples, I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. But how will I come to you? He said he'll come to them via the power of the Spirit. And the power of the Holy Spirit is indwelling in us. In the past, I've spoken about the voices that go through our heads. Those voices could be you talking to yourself. It could be you talking to the Holy Spirit of God. It could be you talking to the devil. It could be you listening to the other voices around you, the opinion of everybody else. It depends on the voice that you will hear and trust and believe in. So if you hear the voice of the devil and is tempting you to go and steal so that you can be able to get the wealth, right? Do you think that is right? I don't think so. If you're hearing your own voice and saying, oh, you wretched Esther, you're not going anywhere, you are good for nothing, you cannot sum up to anything, oh, you cannot be able to do that, then that's the voice of yourself that you're listening. But if you listen to the voice of God, he has very huge, high promises for you and for me. Let me just read a couple of comments from here. Mercy W. Newman is listening from Stockholm. And then Neil is saying, the brother who stayed at home should just concentrate on his own life and love the brother as the father did. Because the one who was left thought he was being clever. But in the end, he was not humble when he came home. Forgiveness and humility goes hand in hand. Yes, humility and forgiveness go hand in hand. So if you left, you become prodigal, you can still come back. If you stayed, and this is where we, the religious Christians, normally go wrong. We can think that we are in the church, so we belong to the kingdom. We belong to God. God knows us. If you're not making any effort to have a relationship with the Father, you can still be a very depressed Christian. You can be feeling like a very isolated Christian. You can be feeling like a very troubled Christian. Why? Because you do not know that the Father loves you, and everything He has, including joy and freedom and love and acceptance, they belong to you. I was saying, Jesus told His disciples, I'm not going to leave you alone like orphans. I will send you the power of the Holy Spirit, who will be able to help you in every aspect of this life. When you need to speak, He will give you the right words. When you need comfort, He'll be able to give you. When He needs to remind you about Jesus' life, He will remind you. When He needs you to know about God, He will be able to remind you that. So, the spiritual orphan, this orphan in this life, sometimes we choose, sometimes it happens because the circumstances around us dictate so. Sometimes. Let me just have a quick look at the ones on WhatsApp so that I don't miss out on other friends that could be commenting here, so that I can make sure that I have everybody in the process so that I don't leave anybody out. Karibu sana. If I haven't mentioned your name, I do recognize that you're here with us, and we have somebody said, well said, and Hannah Njoroge is also karibu sana. Hanihan Njoroge. Hani Njoroge, and Cool Kenyan in Israel is saying, well said, and Anjuguna is said, well said, Esther. What I'm trying to say tonight, and like I said, I won't stay too long, but what I'm trying to say tonight, you belong. I don't know whether you're the prodigal or you're the one that stayed. And I was looking at the leash, because this is the introductory part of the leash. What is it that is tying you down? It's tying you down in the prodigal environment, or it is tying you down even when you're inside the church. What is it that you're longing for that you're not able to find at home? My Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all the righteousness therein, and then all these other things will be added to you. And when I say about wealth, I don't say you can't be a millionaire, you can be a millionaire. It's a different, I want you to seek the type of wealth that is meaningful. I would like to have a wealth of love so that I can be able to love others so deeply. I would like to have a wealth of peace so that in my environment I'm peaceful and I'm able to help other people to become peaceful. I would like the wealth from within before it goes outward. I don't know about you. Material wealth, I know it comes to an end, but there is a wealth that never ends. Love, because God is love, it never ends. I think if I'm full of love, then I will have everything that I need in this life to be able to cope with my everyday life. I think if I seek the things that comfort, no, okay, they meet my hunger and my thirst from within, then I will be the very happy person that I can be. Remember, the prodigal son was enticed by the things of the world. Both of them were enticed differently, because the other one was making wealth, but at home, but not really connecting with the Father. At the end of the day, what really, really matters, it's the relationship that we form with the one that we call the Father. And then we are seeking the kingdom as we form that relationship with Him. Then all these other things are added to us. They're added to us. So, what I'm trying to say today is there is something, a leash, a kind of a thing that holds people down. And that thing that holds people down is the one I would like you to let go tonight, so that this orphan is unleashed. This orphan in this life is set free. That's what I'm looking for tonight. So it's not about the chasing after the material things. The material things are good, and you can go have fun with them. You can, I mean, have as much wealth as you want. It's fine. But if you don't have your priorities set right, then all the other things that we were longing for don't necessarily happen. So, where does the unleashing start from? You may say, Esther, you're talking about the leash and the unleashing. Where does the unleashing start from? It starts from number one, having a revelation of who God is to us and who we are in Him. So, the moment we realize we are sons and daughters of a powerful God, who has created this universe and this world that we live in, who has given us everything we need, then maybe we can start awakening from being an orphan and realizing we have a very loving, all powerful, almighty Father. And I know some people have a problem, these people who are in the new age. They don't want to give a sex to a God. They don't want to call him a he. They've started saying it's a she, or it's the universe, or it's the, I don't know. I say a he because Jesus called him our Father, and he referred to him as our Father. At the very moment I have that Father in heaven, then I am at the starting point where I know that I am on my way home. Okay. Now, the Father has everything that I need. Like I said, He's the creator God, He's the designer of everything. And I'm smiling, I'm joyous because I know what He gives me. I know the kind of life He has given me. I know in Him I have a beginning and I have an end. So start with a revelation of who God is to us and who we are in Him. And then that process of being set free from the orphan spirit begins. Then the other thing we need to do is to realign with His truth, or we align with the truth of who God is and every other truth that God tells us. Jesus said, I am the way, I am the life, I am the truth. So the life that Jesus led, the way He taught, recently we completed the gospel according to Matthew, and I am amazed at the teachings of Jesus. So if we know, we realign our lives with the truth, that God promises, the teachings of Jesus, the power of the Holy Spirit, nature and what it tells us about God, the revelation that it tells us about God, then we are in the process of acquiring all those things that we long for, but from a very good angle, because we have prioritized our life in the right manner. We have prioritized our lives in the right manner. So I've said, number one, have a revelation. Number two, realign with the truth. And then start building relationships. Start building a relationship with God, and then build a relationship with the people around here, plus yourself. Never forget to have love, to receive love, to love yourself as the way God has loved you, so that you can receive the love and be able to give that love. So, revelation, realign, then start having a relationship with God and others. The biggest or the highest commandment we've been given is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and everything that you are, and to love the other person. And then we need to start taking care of the other orphans. I think when I've read the Bible, when it talks about the best religion, or the religion that God wants, it's the religion that takes care of widows and orphans. That's what my Bible says. So taking care of other spiritual orphans, or any other orphan that you know, we can start practicing the true religion. Otherwise, we may end up like the son who stayed. They are not forming a relationship with the Father, and therefore that's not a true religion. It's a false religion, because all he did was take care of his wealth and just sit on that wealth, but never forming a relationship with the Father. Let me repeat those 4 R's again. Have a revelation of who God is and who we are in Him. Then realign with every truth that God tells you. So if He says, I'm going to be with you, I will be with you, you need to trust that. If God says, I'm going to send you like He sent Moses, then be willing to be sent. And then start building relationship with God and with other people. And then The true religion that you need to practice is to take care of other people who are as needy as these two guys were, so that we can be able to truly build a religion that is pure before God. So, one of the things I also like reading is Romans 12, where it says, offer yourselves as a holy living sacrifice before God, to be able to have a revelation of who God is, and to be able to realign the truth, and to be able to have a relationship with other people and with God as well, and to have the true religion. One of the things we must do is be able to offer ourselves fully of who we are before God, so that we can be able to arise and shine in the goodness of God. So, a spirit being, when you unleash the spirit being, let God set your spirit free, but it is your choice at the end of the day to allow Him to do this. We can speak, Esther can talk, can continue to talk from morning to evening, but it's at the end of the day, you have a choice, and God doesn't force anybody to come to Him. It's your choice. Sometimes you come back to your senses, like the prodigal son came back to their senses and say, I'm going to run home. That's how it happens. So the spirit being, when it's set free, God sets you free, and it's by choice, because you have to allow Him, you have to listen to His voice and believe the truth that He's telling you, and then become transformed by that truth. Because it's a matter of the heart. It's not just a matter of intellect. It's not just a matter of reasoning. It's a matter of the heart, and trusting that if this heart is longing for something, then who can fill up this heart that is longing for something? If I feel like an orphan here, then who can fill in this heart of mine for all the things that I need? First of all, love, acceptance, and all that. Where can I get that? Where can I get security that is everlasting? Security now and security forever. I may not get full security on this part of life, because people do attack each other and people steal from other people. But I know my life can be secured in God, because I believe in God. So if somebody decides to kill me today, I know which side of heaven I will end up in. So we give our bodies as a sacrifice before God, a living sacrifice before God, then we start to shine in the presence of God, because it's God who gives us the power to do so. And we must be able to do that with an authentic heart. We don't do like nusu nusu, half and half. We need to be fully given to this thing. We need to be fully given to this God. We need to be fully given to this thing that we are looking for. And when I was thinking again about how to unleash this orphan spirit, how to set this spirit free, how to set these sons and daughters free, I was taken to Isaiah chapter 61. Chapter 61. And this is what it says. I won't read the whole chapter. I'll just sum it up a little bit as I'm summing up, because I said I won't stay long. I am almost summing up for today. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me. That's Jesus. Who said so? Because he was reading from Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. Remember, I said orphans feel as if they are poor. We may be feeling as if we are poor because we are never getting satisfied because of the things that we are longing for. But the anointing that was on Jesus, when he left, he said, with the same authority that I have, I leave it to you. So you and I, if you know Jesus, if you know God, then you have an anointing to bring the good news to the poor people. And it can start from you. You have to tell yourself the good news. You must proclaim the good news, so that all the things that you long for, that you know God has them already, you can be set free from those. So setting your priorities right. Then he has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. So sometimes we long for that gap of love and acceptance to be filled in, because we are brokenhearted. Why? Because the things that in this life we want didn't go right. We have a husband, they have divorced. We have children, they are not listening. We are looking for wealth, that business deal didn't go well. Or we are sad because something didn't go right. So many things can cause brokenheartedness. And again, Jesus came to bind up the brokenhearted, and he has given us that mandate to us. We've been given the Great Commission to do the same things that he was doing, and he continues to do through us. to proclaim freedom for the captives. So these things that hold us, the leash that is holding us back, you remember I started with the leash. The thing that is holding us back is like it's holding us captive, like prisoners. It's like we are tied down to some situation that we are not able to set ourselves free. So remember, we can be set free, from being a captive of whatever it is that is captivating us. And then to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort those who mourn. And if you continue to read that Isaiah 61, you will see that God is comforting us and He is telling us that we are able to be set free. We are able to be given a garment of praise instead of mourning or instead of despair, beauty for ashes, oil of joy for mourning, and all that. And we will be called oaks of righteousness. So I'm back to square one. Why I like using plants, because the Bible uses those symbolism a lot. So if I'm an oak of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, a display of His splendor, that's where I want us to be. That's where I want you to be. That's where I want to be. That God will give us what? Beauty for ashes. He will give us oil of joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. We will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of His splendor, because that's what God was intending from the beginning, from Genesis. That's what God intended, to build a beautiful Eden for us so that we can be able to prosper from the beginning and then to get to heaven where there is more prosperity and everything is complete. So I'm coming towards the end. Just a quick sum up. Remember, we started from the beginning. Esther likes using symbolism of plants. Why? Because they give me more meaning. A plant serves a purpose. It can be a fruit tree. It can be a vegetable. It can be a herbal, anything. That purpose can help me to understand my own purpose in thinking like, what type of a tree would I be? Here, it's telling me I can be an oak of righteousness. I talked about life orphans, and these life orphans, sometimes we choose to be consciously or unconsciously, we become those orphans because we do not have a relationship with the Father. The best way to let go this leash, to go this harness, this thing that is holding us down, is to have a revelation of who God is and who we are in God. Then start realigning with the truth of God, having a relationship with God and other people, and then practicing the true religion, that is the Great Commission of bringing other people who could be feeling like they don't belong to the kingdom. And at the end of the day, we offer ourselves as fully a sacrifice, a living sacrifice before God, an acceptable sacrifice, so that we are transformed. We are not conformed to the patterns of this world, but we are transformed as we continue living in this life. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. I am so happy that you are able to join me. And I'm just going to quickly acknowledge everybody who has joined me tonight as I say good night from where I am, good day from the Americans, and any other time wherever you're tuned in. Let me just say again, Mary Wawero, asante sana kwa kujoin. Cool Kenyan in Israel, asante sana. Pierance, asante sana. Shiwama, asante sana. Mary Waweru, thank you so much for joining in. Susan Wanjiko, thank you so much for joining in. And Stevie Bill, thank you so much for joining in. Joy Wangondu, thank you so much for joining in. And Sarah Mwangi, thank you so much for joining in. Josie Tech, thank you so much. And Juguna, thank you so much. Hannah Haninjoroge, thank you so much. And then the Cool Kenyan in Israel, thank you so much. And Mary Mwaura, asante sana. Priscilla Modoni, asante sana for joining in. And then on Facebook here, I know we didn't share much because, again, the mitambos were playing, and I think people left when the mitambos started playing. So Bella Betty, thank you so much for tuning in. Marcy Newman, thank you so much for tuning in. Neil Hutchings, thank you so much for tuning in. Purity Wamatu, thank you so much for tuning in. And then we do have Smart Cathedral, thank you so much. And the book where the story of the prodigal son is in Luke 15, verses 11 to 31. So for those who are going to read the Bible later on, it's Luke 15, 11 to 31. I know you may have had a different perspective of this story, but go and have a read, and it may help you to understand in a different way. So Samuel Kimani, thank you so much. Lucy Mwihaki, asante sana. Masi Wamboi, asante sana. Shiko Wangondu, asante sana. And then Mwari wa Moturi, asante sana. Gishomo Lydia, asante sana. Asante sana for watching. And Rose Richardson, thank you so much. Josika Makawaida, thank you so much. Emily Mkale, asante. And Susan Muthoni, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining in. And you can share with your friends. This is not the end of it. Yeah, you can share with your friends. I want people to know which side of life do they belong. Do they belong in? Do they belong out? Can they come back? Can they awake? Can they be able to realize that they can have a relationship with the living God, the one who owns everything? He can help you to be set free. And once you've been set free, then all these other things can be added, starting from the inside out. Josie, I think we've done justice for the day today. And I'm going to say thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much also for helping me with the networks and everything when it was getting broken down. So if you're there, Josie, let's have some music running. And if anybody has a question, please feel free to ask me some of the questions. Maybe if there will be questions, I'll be able to answer. Otherwise, Alam Siki. Good night. My name is Esther from Leicester. Thank you.
Haina haja kukata tamaa, kosa leo haimani tutapata kesho. Haina haja kufa moyo, haina haja kukata tamaa, kukosa leo